6 years ago, Ellis Hammond's entire mission changed. He was a full-time college pastor with vision and passion, but broke. Now a full-time real estate entrepreneur, Ellis is the founder of Kingdom Real Estate Investors, the #1 community for faith-driven leaders impacting the world through real estate investing. If you're a kingdom-minded real estate investor or entrepreneur seeking to advance God's kingdom outside the church walls, welcome to the Kingdom REI podcast, where Ellis interviews Christian entrepreneurs and investors focused on advancing God's kingdom through real estate investing. Enjoy the show.
Hey, welcome everyone to the Kingdom Real Estate Investor Podcast. I'm your host, Ellis Hammond, with my co-host, Cameron Roy.
Hello, my brother. What's going on?
Cameron, where do folks go to follow? Have we ever given you a shout out, man? Like, do you live on the internet?
You know, I don't live there. I am there. I don't live there. I limit my social media. It's just not been good for me.
You're such a sage on the podcast show. I feel like people want to know where they can learn more about you. Where is that?
You go to LinkedIn is where I'm most active. If you find me on Facebook, good luck. I'm never on there. I'm not on Instagram. I don't feel a need to be. You want to come get coffee? That's better. Come to Dallas, Texas. That's where I'm at. Let's hang and get some coffee. That's the best thing to do for me.
Love it. Go give some love to Cameron on LinkedIn if you guys enjoy having. If you do, put it in a review. Let me see in the review on this show who loves Cameron. Let's get some votes. Just write a 5-star review and just give up.
The last thing I need is a bigger ego now, Ellis. So don't do that, please.
Let's do that, man. Give Cameron some love. I'm so grateful to have him as a co-host on this show. Guys, I'm really, really pumped to be able to have our guest on today. Very interesting topic. We're going to really do a masterclass, a deep dive on something we have not talked about on the show before. You know, there's a lot of talk about multifamily and single family and fix and flip and wholesale. But when's the last time you heard an expert on off-market raw land and how to, and I'm getting his ads everywhere because I clicked on one, is, work less, but going deeper on one project. I think it's a very profitable model, as he's going to talk about today. So I'm really, really excited for you guys to hear more about this strategy, but more importantly, the man himself and who he is and what he stands for. So guys, welcome to the show, Cody Bjugan. Welcome, brother.
Yeah, you nailed it. Good job on the last name. Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it. We'll have fun.
Yeah. So Cody and I, we got introduced. We're part of a group together. Spent a weekend up in the mountains. It was epic. So I just know this guy really. You love the Lord, man, first and foremost, and I'm really grateful to have you here. And so, talk about real quick, like what's on your shirt. What does PIF mean?
Well, first of all, yeah, it was epic up in the hills, and quite frankly, the Lord was so present in that room, dude. I have no clue how the walls stayed up or the roof stayed on.
Like, bro, we about prayed him down. We about prayed him down. We about did the Jericho moment up in there and tore that thing down, but stayed up.
It was amazing, man. It was totally amazing. Okay, so you asked about my shirt. So most of you know PIF as paid in full, right? And my PIF is purpose, impact, fulfillment. So what's that all about? Where'd that come from? It's kind of my personal slogan. It's on my website and social and all that. Well, where that came from is one, through a lot of trials and tribulations and failures and figuring out what's important and figuring out. I'll just tell you, man, I think the word happiness is a joke. Everybody talks about, I just want to be happy. Happy is so temporary. Happy is so empty. Happy, I was just like, I wish the word didn't exist. What we're all searching for is the word fulfillment, whether we know it or not, like true fulfillment. And, you can be fulfilled in the midst of going through hard times. You probably aren't happy, but you can still be fulfilled. Right. And so I started thinking about this idea of fulfillment and my legacy and what I want my legacy to be. And I arrived at this fulfillment idea, and it stemmed from me starting in 2019 to teach what it is I've done my whole career. Okay. And see, I have this specialty experience, kind of this blue ocean niche that I've become an expert in. I hate saying it that way, but I would classify myself as an expert in my space. And I had this conviction to do something with that, because it's teaching a unique niche business model within real estate that I know of no one else is teaching. And so I found a purpose in that, right? And through that purpose, through that knowledge, through the opportunities, the education the Lord has allowed me to gain in this space, I can go serve a purpose, right? And through that, I can go have a positive impact, right, on others within my reach. And ultimately, through me making that positive impact, that allows me the opportunity, to feel fulfillment, feel that thing, that emotion, that spirit within me that everybody is searching for. We're all searching for it, but I think most of us don't realize that's what we're searching for. And so to me, if you want fulfillment in your life, you have no shot at it, in my opinion, unless you're making a positive impact in one way or another. Okay. And for me, making that positive impact comes from finding that purpose, right? Finding that passion, finding that way that you can serve, that you can make a difference. So that's PIF, man. That's purpose, impact, fulfillment. That's the true paid in full, my friend.
Where do I get one of those shirts?
I've been asked that several times, and I think I might need to do something about that. I might need to have some, I need to order some probably.
Come on, I got the security code on my credit card ready to type in.
I'm telling you, man, the little landing page.
I'll make sure my team knows that.
Right.
No, I love that. I think that's so true, man. I mean, happiness, nothing wrong with being happy. I'm very happy right now. But I think you're right. What we're really looking for is, I think there's a lot of people that probably would be okay in some pain or discomfort if they were really fulfilled, right? Like if I'm really doing something, like I'm okay to be, and this is true in a business standpoint, right? Like I'm okay to have some trouble in the business if I know that we're really growing and making an impact. Like it would be okay to have trials and tribulations and people issues and things kind of going, if I'm like, but man, look what we're doing in the world. Look, we're growing, like we're impacting people. So I think that's so right on, man. I love the way you kind of frame that.
Here's the deal. It's all bigger than you or I. We're just stewards, right? Our businesses aren't ours. We're just stewards over these businesses. I'm going through a little challenge right now. I'm just gonna tell you a quick story. I'm not going to get into the details of the challenge I'm going through, but let me tell you. So the Lord's put me on my knees many times in my life, okay? And several times in my career. I've said to a few people in my life over the last year that, as I've gone through those different trials and tribulations, challenges, failures, mistakes, whatever, I've always been able to come out the other side and reflect and grow, okay? And we all heard it. You grow more through those times than you do through the good times. There's no question. That's not even debatable. It's the truth, okay? And it's cool that you can come out the other side and grow. And quite frankly, a lot of people don't. They choose to not capture that opportunity as a way to grow, to reflect and grow. And I've told a few people over the last year, I said, I'm sure I got something around the corner. I'm sure I do, right? Like it's just part of life. What I think will be the ultimate test is when I can be right in the midst of a trial or tribulation, right in the midst of it. And I can be in prayer thanking the Lord for it. Because I know that he's sculpting me. And I'll tell you, in this little thing I'm going through right now, I've been journaling constantly, faith over fear, faith over fear, faith over fear. Like the reality is when you're serving a bigger purpose, faith can win the battle in the ring over fear. No questions asked. Now I'm human, do a little bit of fear or anxiety sneak in a little bit here and there over the last several weeks, of course. But ultimately my faith is winning the battle. And to me, I know now that I am growing. I knew prior, but I am really growing in the fact that my faith is winning over fear. And the fact that I am thanking the Lord for the way he's sculpting me. Because I am right in it. And I'm already seeing 3 or 4 different ways that I'm growing, right? That I'm coming out the other side different. So I don't have to get through it and then reflect back. Like I'm already pulling the nuggets out of it of how I'm growing. Sorry, man. I just had to share that story because I'm in the midst of it. And you can still hear my passion, my excitement, my love. And I'm right in the middle of something that might put a lot of people on their butt, right? And I'm just not allowing it to happen.
The Prince of Preachers, Charles Spurgeon, once said, I have learned to kiss the waves that drive me into the rock of ages.
Oh, so good.
Like the waves that you feel are drowning you, that are hurting you, that are just throwing you these rocks that are cutting you open. Spurgeon through his life said, I learned to kiss those waves instead of cursing.
That's a beautiful statement.
The sage has spoken again, guys. Leave the 5-star review, as I mentioned earlier.
I literally quoted a dead old guy, not Cameron's words.
The sage has done it again. Guys, this show is just getting started. I'm so excited to have Cody in here. Wow, so true, man. Well, listen, let me do this in that spirit. Let me pray, as I'm sure there are several folks in very similar situations, that faith would conquer today in anyone and everyone's situation. And then let's get into some off-market raw land conversation. So, Father, we come to you today, and we do pray this in Jesus' name. I declare this over everyone who's listening today, God, that you would that your Holy Spirit would come, fill cars, fill gyms, fill houses, fill rooms, fill offices, and that faith would win today. God, that even right now we take a deep breath, we breathe in your Holy Spirit, and we blow out any type of fear or anxiety, God, that is controlling us today. And we trust you, God. We know that you're trustworthy because of what you've done for us through Christ. May today be an example and testimony of that. Thank you for Cody and his testimony. God, if we don't have that type of faith, we link to Cody. We pray that you give us some of his, supply us with that today. And we ask this in Christ's name, amen. So, Cody, man, where do we start today? I really want this to be, there's a lot of real estate crowd here. Probably, like I said, we never talked about this. So talk about kind of how you got into this and why you feel like, because I'll be honest with you, man, when I saw your ads or when I saw what you're doing, I think the thing that the hurdle, if I'm honest with you, like that you have to go up against, and maybe you already hear this, is like, it just seems too big, like I need like development or permit. It's like, I'd rather just go buy the multifamily apartment complex, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to deal with
everybody else.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at today. So let's talk about how you got into it, and then let's talk about how maybe other people can be a part of this opportunity.
Yeah. Hey, I'm invested in multifamily as well. So, I love the asset class. I love the value add play. But hey, if you want to play in a red ocean your whole career, that's up to you. I prefer the blue myself, but let's just say this. No question. The reason my space is not flooded like a space you just mentioned is because people think the barrier of entry is just too high. Okay. Or the risk is too substantial, or the capital requirement is too substantial. But I would say most of that comes down to being uneducated. Okay. People fear the unknown, right? They just do. And so that's why I started VestRight, which is on my shirt. That's here we go. The education company is I'm trying to help people see that the barrier of entry is actually not too high. I'm a guy that I don't have any special degree. I have a degree from Reality Check, street smarts. I got my high school girlfriend pregnant, and that's the college I went to, is having to put food on the table for my family. So I didn't have no rich family that handed me down money so that I could get into development. I didn't have some family business that I took over. What we try to teach in this space is that the barrier of entry is actually not substantial at all, but you've got to, and I'm sure we'll drop a link at some point, but I have a free ebook that anybody can go download, and I can't guarantee anything. Otherwise I get myself in legality issues, right? Or liability. But I would be amazed if you didn't come out the other side of reading that ebook and all of a sudden really understand my model and be much more educated than before you went and read it. So, but it's the unknown. But let me break it down. Okay, I've done plenty of horizontal where you put in the streets and the utilities and the street lights and all that, right? Done plenty of that. I've built plenty of homes, right? Vertical construction, tons of them. But the niche, where the magic happens, is what VestRight's all about. I don't teach you horizontal development or construction. I don't teach you vertical construction. Why? Because that's a dime a dozen. I don't bring you any type of specialty experience or inside track with construction. Construction is technical, and I bring you no additional value than you can find a million other places out there. Okay. So I don't teach it at all. What I teach you is one, off-market prospecting. And we don't even spend a ton of time here because here's the reality. If you're a house wholesaler, you are the best of the best of the best when it comes to off-market prospecting. You want to learn about off-market prospecting? Go have a lunch with a wholesaler, okay? With a house wholesaler. Y'all know off-market prospecting. And we've actually in the last couple of years learned from the house wholesalers how to improve our off-market prospecting. But I'll tell you what, off-market prospecting is key. You have nothing without deal flow. And why would you not want to be in charge of your own deal flow, be in control of that? Do you really want to sit around and wait for a real estate agent to call you? Or do you really want to sit around watching Zillow or the MLS or LoopNet or whatever it is? Like, do you really want to sit around and wait for a deal to get listed so that you and everybody else can try to buy it? Right? Do you really think that real estate agent, they tell you it's a pocket deal? Do you really think you're the only person they're reaching out to? Like, the reality is it might not be in the system, but you're not the only one that knows about the deal. So we prefer off-market, off-market, off-market. But what we do is it's all raw land. Okay, there's many guys out there, well, a handful of guys. One of them that we actually spoke with recently that was saying how my program would be a great level up for all his clients. There's a lot of guys out there teaching like raw land, how to go find rural land and flip it and make a few bucks, right? It's almost like house wholesaling, but it's for raw land, right? I would choose to go into a business model where I don't have to chase my tail, where I don't have to be on a hamster wheel, where I could do 1-2 deals a year and be very, very, very comfortable. Okay. And so the way you do that is you do raw land, but you do raw land that has development potential. Okay. Meaning that you can take that raw land and take it through what's called entitlements or governmental approval process. It's a political process, but you can take that piece of raw land and you can take it through this process, which we teach, and you can end up on the other side of that with an approved development, whatever the asset class is. We specialize in residential, but this process is 90% the same no matter what the asset class is, okay, the land use process. And so we just love residential because we know that people need roofs over their heads, right? Like, it's pretty simple. Here again, I'm a meat and potatoes guy. I got a first street light in my neighborhood or in my town where I grew up when I was in high school, right? Like, I'm just the basic of the basic, okay? Like, but I like it. I like residential. So anyway, so we teach this off-market prospecting. We teach, the thing is, how do you know if it has development potential? Otherwise, you're just spinning your wheels, you know? And so I'm gonna drop you 5 points really quick of tip of the iceberg to know if a piece of raw land potentially is developable or not, okay? If you can take it through that value add process and make the type of figures we talk about everywhere, right? Those 7 figures per deal, the 6 figures per deal. So let's talk about 5 points. 1, what's the zoning of the property? Very easy to find on the jurisdiction website. What's the zoning? Or it might be zoned ag, right? Farmland, agricultural. Is the jurisdiction willing to allow it to be rezoned? A lot of times they are, right? Because they want development in that area. And so we go through rezone all the time on projects. So zoning is number 1. Number 2, utilities is usually, at least to do the type of projects we do, we need public sewer, public water. So we need utilities to be able to serve that development. We're not out, you know, in the rural area doing, you know, 5-lot projects that are 5 acres of each lot and they're on septic. That's not what we do. We go in and we do projects that are 100 to 500 lots is kind of our spot, right? Let me stop right there. When I started doing this back in 2002, I did projects that were 2 or 3 or 4 lots. Okay. So you got to have public utilities, very key to serve the development, whatever type of development is. Next is you need public access. The public has got to be able to get to the property. So a lot of times you'll find a great piece, but it's landlocked, meaning there's no way to get to the piece. There's no public right of way. There's no collector road, arterial road, whatever it may be. And so sometimes You might go crack a deal with your neighbor. Maybe the neighbor, the piece you want to buy, maybe they'll sell you their piece too. Or maybe they'll give you an easement where you can build the public right of way through their piece. There's lots of ways to skin the cat, but next is public right of way. All right. Next, topography. Fourth item, topography. What is the land? I'll tell you this, a flat piece of property is less to develop than a piece that's steep. All right. Some properties, they just aren't feasible for development because of the topography, right? Or they're downsloping. And what happens is that jurisdiction won't let you put in pumps to pump the sanitary sewer. And so the downhill kills you. One, not only just the cost, but two is they won't let you pump the sanitary. Now, some jurisdictions do. It's case by case. Last thing is, someone will call me and they'll say, oh man, I got the best piece. Topography is great. Utilities are there. Public right-of-ways there. It's zoned for development. Like, Cody, this is a home run. Gosh, you know what you forgot to check? You forgot to check the maps online as far as overlays. Unfortunately, that piece is in an environmental overlay and you can't do anything with it. Or half of it's in an environmental overlay, or it's in a steep slope, or it's in a floodplain, or, you know, there's different overlays that will make a piece challenging. So those are the 5 basic points I usually just start with everybody. Just first deal with those 5. And if you can check those boxes, we might have something. Make sense?
Yeah.
I'm looking at it right now. I got this top of my notes.
I love it. So those are 5 basic elements to know whether you have a shot at those types of paydays I talk about. Let me come and throw one more thing out to you, that if there's nothing else I say on this show today, this is the one thing I need you to take away related to my business model. And it's the reason certain companies out there or individuals are getting smoked right now, okay? Because we all know we're going through a correction in the market, all right? And so people come into my space sometimes and they try to play without knowing how to play, okay? And there's just certain things that you don't do in my space. And I'll tell you the number one thing I need you to learn today. If you're going to go out and pay development values for land, okay? So not as is value. Let's use an example. Let's just say there's a piece that as ag land, as is value is 10 grand an acre. Okay. If that piece has development potential, I might pay that property owner $50,000 an acre, $100,000 an acre. All right. They're going to make 5 to 10 times. Here's the thing though. If I'm going to pay that 5 to 10 times, I better make sure I know what I have. And what I mean by that is if I'm going to pay for a diamond, I better make sure it's a diamond. Never go out and pay development values on dirt until the development is approved. People are like, well, how do you get people to wait that long? I'll tell you this, okay? I go to Billy Bob, property owner, and I say, tell you what, I can pay you $1 million after I get through approvals, the land use process, entitlements. I can pay you $1 million and say, depending on where it is in the country, 9 months to 18 months, let's say. I can pay you $1 million in 9 months to 18 months, or I can pay you as is value and close right now, just like a normal transaction. And I'll pay you 100 grand. Can I tell you that I've never had one property owner say, Cody, I won't give you the 9 to 18 months? No, they'll take the $1 million. So don't come play in my space and offer the $1 million and close tomorrow, because all you do is screw my industry up. And guess what? And I'm not trying to be mean, but it's just like, don't come play unless you're educated. That's why VestRight is so fulfilling for me, because I can educate you so that you don't make dumb decisions, because I had to learn the hard way. My 20 years is put into VestRight. But guess what? Those guys that did that, where they went out and competed with me in 2020, 21, first part of 22, and they went and closed on these deals. They paid development values and they closed in 30 days. Those guys are getting creamed right now.
Do you use debt with that, or just all straight cash?
Well, we don't close until approvals, right?
Well, these guys though, were they closing with debt or just all straight cash? I think
they were using a combination, of, well, no, they weren't. I mean, no debt, no lender, no legitimate lender is going to be loaning any type of it's mainly, I would say, and I'm guessing here a little bit because I don't dive into how they do it, but any educated bank is not going to be loaning, 75% or probably even 50% based upon development values, because the number one box they're checking is it approved yet? Right? And so they're probably using, who knows, private equity. They're using, who knows, people's retirement money, who knows what they're using. But we had to compete with some of those guys. But here's the thing. Think about this for a second. As soon as you close on the dirt, or any real estate asset for that matter, as soon as you take title, all your options are gone. We go through a turn in the market like we are right now. Guess what I have? I have options. I can renegotiate the closing date to be on the other side of this downturn. I can renegotiate the purchase price to make it relative to the market we're in. I can walk if I need to and limit my hit, right? Because where people get confused is exactly what you said earlier. They think development is untouchable, okay? My average deal, and I do bigger deals, my average deal, we figure plus or minus, we have about $400,000 into them. Example of one recently, we had probably 400 into it. Don't hold me to that. I'm not even in the day-to-day trenches of my company anymore, but probably 400 in it. And our company made about 5 million on that deal, right? So, and you don't have the 400, that's okay. Here's what I can tell you. In my whole 20-year career, if I had a good deal, I never had a hard time finding the money. If you got a good deal, the money will come. And so with my students, we now offer our students, they kept asking and asking and asking, Cody, can we be your partner? Can we be your partner? So finally I said, fine, we'll create a system where you can be my partner. So if you got a good deal and you go through my education and get educated to where you don't waste your time or mine or my team's, you find a good deal, we'll put up the capital. Right? I recently had the pleasure in Dallas at my headquarters. We did a ceremony for one of our students, and I had the privilege of handing him a check for $610,000 for bringing me a deal. Handed me a deal. He was going to assign it to one of the public home builders for 20 grand to sign his contract. And we talked him out of it. And instead, a year later, 11 months later, I write him a check for $610,000. He worked at his church full time. And talk about fulfillment. I'm a part of changing his journey forever because I chose to start VestRight.
So let me ask you about the most obvious question I have in this whole process. Is the off-market raw land? I'm like, because you go to you can go out in the country and find raw land, but like, you know what I'm saying? So like that feels to me like, well, it sounds too good to be true, Cody, because most places are already developed. Like what about that barrier?
So typical. Like
I know I'm your typical. Dude.
I am. It's like, dude, listen to a little more of the news, right?
Ellis.
Like I am.
Let me put it this way. Let's just put the proof. Put the proofs in the pudding, right?
Yeah. Let's do it.
So I have a business
Cody,
model.
I'm not. Hey, I'm your biggest skeptic on the planet on everything. So you got to convince me, bro. You got to get through me.
I love it. Well, first, okay, let's just think about this. Let's just think just logically. Let's just put the logic on here for a second. Okay. Yes, Cody started VestRight for PIF, Purpose Impact Fulfillment. But Cody also has a goal of his allied development becoming a very, very substantial company. Okay. If I share with you my vivid vision, it's big. If I was concerned about supply, I don't know that I would have taught somewhere around 500 people at this point how to do what I do. Yeah, PIF's cool, but that would just be stupidity because it'd be kind of like putting myself out of business. I have zero concern about running out of supply for my business model before I die.
Okay, I'm a little more convinced. I mean, knowing you and knowing what you want to build, I'm like, okay, that's actually a pretty good argument because I know you. Yeah. But if I didn't know you, I'd be like, I don't know, man. I look around, there's not a whole lot of stuff in my neighborhood that isn't, So like, my question then is like, where do guys go to find this stuff?
That's just lack of education. That's just lack of education. Well, first of all, The thing is cool too about our model is it's virtual. So, our headquarters in Dallas, but I think don't hold me to this, but I think we're in like 7 to 12 states right now. I'm in board meetings once a quarter at this point. So it's cool. You can do it virtually, right? Like you can be on the beach for all I care, as long as you got technology and the internet. But be strategic about the markets you're going into, because there are certain markets where the supply is really limited. But I'll tell you what, there's advantages to those markets as well, because limited supply means higher prices. Okay, so it's all somewhat relative.
Right.
Also, limited supply, in my opinion, has less risk. Right? Like some of the urban sprawl markets that have endless supply, some of those markets are getting hurt a little bit right now.
Right.
So limited supply isn't always necessarily a bad thing.
100%.
But there's more migration happening in our country right now than ever. Well, it's pretty simple. We're just doing deals where people are moving to. I mean, here again, that meat and potatoes thing I was telling you about.
So the goal would be to exit before we have to develop, though, right? Meaning we get it through permits, et cetera, and then sell it to the developer is ultimately the goal. This is like what Scott did, Cameron, right? In Nashville. That's the goal, though, for your students too, right? You get the
double
land.
Closing, simultaneous closing, right? So our students basically they have two models they follow. Some of our students are just going out and finding a ready, willing seller on a piece that has development potential. And then they're turning it over to my company. We have a process how they do that. My company goes in, negotiates the deal. My company runs all the approvals. My company sells the deal. And then my company capitalizes the whole thing. And then we cut them in on the profit. Like that ceremony I told you the other day, earlier, that was a student that teed up a ready, willing seller, brought it to us, and we did everything. The other option is that we teach A to Z. We teach you exactly how to do what we do. But you're right. We do what's called what we teach are double closing, simultaneous closings. And so the same time we're closing with the seller after approvals, right? After development approvals is the same time my buyer's closing with me.
Oh, that's right. Because you're not necessarily closing with the seller until you have approvals, permits.
I own the property for a split second, right? So I use my buyer's money to pay my seller, and I make my scrape out of the middle. The deal I told you where we made a little over $5 million, that's exactly how we did it.
But you're still going to need funding for the permitting process. You're going to need
like that deal. Well, you don't pay for the permits. Your buyer does, but you need funding to give the seller some earnest money.
Right.
And you need funding to pay your consultants, your civil engineers and all that to get it through that land use, that political approval process, entitlements.
Right.
So our average deal, our smallest deal is like 100 lots up to 500 lots. And we figure give or take on averages. I don't really like to talk in averages, but our average deal takes about $400,000.
Gotcha.
But, I'll tell you, up until I started a fund, September of last year, up until then, I was doing friends and family money. But I tell you what, if you got the deal, I promise you find the right deal, the money's not going to be the issue.
Let me pass this to Cameron, because Cameron's actually our build to rent expert on the call here. They have a fund where they fund build to rent projects. So Cameron, I'm curious to hear your questions and thoughts. On this.
Well, my questions are I can't talk about this too much. I would love to talk to you more offline, Cody, but I currently have some significant raw acreage under contract in Colorado, way undervalued. The appraisal came back in very positive light. It's in an opportunity zone. Currently creating QOZBs and looking for QOF, Qualified Opportunity Fund, gains monies to support that QOZB. And we are in some specific situations right now where my ears perked up whenever you were talking, which drew me to think that my conclusions are right, is that right now in the market, the last person who has any leverage is the seller.
Oh, 100%.
We want to do right by everybody. And if we can ever do repeat business with sellers, we want to, but there are some, we are going right now. We have Topo out there. We had them out there today. Okay. And we haven't closed yet. We have a closing date, but the deal just keeps looking more and more and more juicy in a very positive light. And we have 183 acres to play with, essentially. So our thoughts are all of that and more of what you said. Like, Maybe we develop a little bit, maybe we sell the rest, maybe we develop it all, maybe we sit on it, do all this work, truly get it maybe shovel ready for a developer, kick it off to them. So I was just excited to hear kind of what you alluded to, that the leverage is right now with the buyer.
I mean, that's the thing about this. So I just did a video for my team yesterday. I do a daily walk, by the way, for an hour every day. It's just non-negotiable. And at the end of that walk, I did a video for my team, the VestRight team, and I talked about 2023. And I will tell you that my focus for 23 is not to have a bunch of large disposition paydays. Okay. It's not the time to be selling. It's the time to be accumulating. And here's what I mean by that. Is it sure? Will we have some dispositions? Yes. And will they, be nice ones? I'm sure. Right. But 23 to me is a time to gather talented people for our team. We're picking up talented people right now that we never could have got our hands on a year ago. Okay. And to pick up great projects, great properties. Because right now, there's no one else at the table. Well, there might be a few, but my point is a lot less people at the table right now. Because people are either getting whooped on, those people I told you about earlier that went and closed at development values, and now they're upside down on the deal because they paid too much. Or uneducated people, which quite frankly is them. But, like a lot of my clients, I compete with my clients. They go and try to buy the same deals I do. And what all my clients are doing right now? They're sitting on their hands because they have to, right? Or others are running backwards. They're running scared. This is the opportunity to me to go and gather and put ourselves in a position where these are the type of markets that create some substantial wealth. So I'm going to go gather, okay? And I believe the housing shortage has gone nowhere, okay? I believe those people are still there. They're just on the sidelines. You know why they're on the sidelines? Because they don't know what normal is anymore. And they won't know what normal is until the rates stop rising. And so here's my opinion. I'm just going to throw this out here. This is Cody's, here again, meat and potatoes, small little town guy opinion, right? Rates will continue to rise. They're going to slow them down. I think rates will stop rising into first quarter, okay? I think that, and maybe into second, but I think come middle of next year, we're going to start to normalize the market a little bit. And I think by the end of 23, people, because here's the deal, as humans, we adapt, right? Look at all the stuff we adapted to with COVID. Like, we adapt. And so it wasn't too long ago, people, that getting a mortgage at 7% was not an issue. And so here's the thing. For the last 2 years, you're all upset because you can no longer buy the $600,000 house because you can't get the money for free. You can't get it for 3%, 3.5%. But the little tiny bit of wisdom I have, let me give something to you here. If the only way you can afford the $600,000 house is if you can get money at 3%, you shouldn't be buying the house. Okay? So what's happening is people are going to adjust to the new reality, a more sustainable market, because we needed to happen what's happening right now. I want to operate in a sustainable market. I don't want to operate in a market where guys can have horrendous underwriting and still make a ton of money. Okay? So let's get to so I think my hope, man, is that all those buyers, they're still there. They just want to know what the new normal is so they can adapt to it. And now they're going to go and they're going to buy the $450,000 house or the $400,000 house instead of the $600,000 house. And they're going to start coming out of the woodwork again, first part of 24. And you know what? My company, we've been gathering talent. We've been gathering deals. And my goal is coming into 24, I'm just going to slingshot out and I'm just going to be running laps around people, right? I'm already going to be 3 laps around the track before you even get off the starting line. And you know why? Because I took this opportunity to gather. But here's where we have to be careful. We got to make sure we're projecting where we think the bottom is correctly. Because if I put myself in a position where I'm putting together all these deals where we structured them wrong, right? Or we priced them wrong, I'm going to come out the other side a stinking slug because I'm going to have all these deals weighing me down. That make sense? So that's my vision. That's my thoughts on 23. and we'll see if I'm right.
Do y'all have a specific target for opportunity zones in raw land as the map is still available to us?
So we don't specifically target OZ deals at all.
Sure. I just curious.
Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't we'll buy an OZ deal. It's just not a part of really our criteria. Well, one is our buyers could care less about OZ deals, right? Because my buyers are Lennar, Horton, KB, Pulte, all these big public nationals. Those are my clients.
Yeah, they're not using capital gains to purchase.
No, because I only own the land for a split second.
Yes. Do you, and I think Alice asked this and I might have missed it. Do you guys take any debt on this raw land at any point?
No
So
debt.
you never have to make a
Model,
decision of signing recourse loans for dirt.
There are no loans. There are no debt.
Yeah.
Because all I'm doing is I only hold the title for a split second because it's double closing, simultaneous closing, right? So I just put up the capital to get it through that process that takes 9 to 18 months.
How do you guys reward that capital, that initial capital to go through the entitlements and the process through the city council and ensure the land is actually going to be able to be sold to developer? How do you treat that money?
Yeah, good question. So what we teach in the course versus what we do today are different. Okay. Because if I'm teaching newbies new to the space, there's lots of different ways you can structure capital. But the way I did it for the first 18 years of my career, where it was just me and a couple people, right? Was real basic, old school, 50-50, right? The guy that finds the project and does the sweat equity gets 50% and the money gets 50%. Like just basic, old, simple 50-50 deal. Mm-hmm. That's how I did it for the first 18 years of my career. Today now we have a fund and we have prefs and split, the whole shebang. But
sure.
But I mean, that's how I used to do it. That's how I used to do it. It was just 50-50.
Yeah, that's great. Because that money is at risk, contingent on you being able to get a developer in. So I just didn't know if there was any special treatment to that initial money that is costing you to get this from the seller's hand to yours for 1 second onto the developer.
And here again, thank the Lord. Our success, any project we've gone to try to get approved, we've never not got a project approved. So, and that's a great track record, but a lot of that is because of how we look at things, right? We don't look at the jurisdiction as our enemy. A lot of guys in my space do. Okay. We look at them as our partner, as our friend. How do we make this a win-win where the jurisdiction wins and we win, right? How do we make this a win-win with the property owner and us? Like win-win. It's actually part of our core values. It's on one of my shirts is win-win, win-win. Like I like the book. There's a good book out there for negotiating that it says never split the difference. Okay.
Chris Voss.
Great book if you want to learn some tricks in negotiation. The thing I do not like about that book is he basically says win-wins aren't possible, and that is just not true. Okay, win-wins are absolutely possible. You just got to figure out what everybody's hot buttons are. What's important to them? How do I take care of that property owner's legacy? Right? Because another big thing of mine is legacy. That might be the biggest transaction in their family. How do I take care of their legacy, but still have it work for my company? No different than the jurisdiction. These politicians, you know what they love? They love it when you fall on a sword for them so that they look good to the public because they're elected officials. So I'll fall on a sword for them, right? But then but where am I winning, right? I'm winning where no one's paying attention to. That makes sense?
Yeah, I like it.
I just have enjoyed. I'm sitting here thinking about like now you got me thinking like, all right, man, what does it mean to gather this year? This has been great, Cody. I love your passion for this business, and I think you're right, man. I mean, I think when everyone's looking left, you look right, and I think this is one of those opportunities. And here's the thing, man. I mean, the skeptic in me is there, but I think at the same time, it's definitely due. And I think if anyone's listening, if you're not educated on something. I mean, clearly, here's a guy, Cody, who's coming on the show and talking about here's an opportunity that no one's talking about. No one's talking about it. That there's an opportunity there. I mean, everyone's talking about multifamily, other stuff, right? So, in that regard, anyways,
if you're a multifamily syndicator or a house wholesaler, like how many guys are you in line with on every street corner?
Yeah,
right? Like
a lot, no doubt, man. And here's the thing, you made me a believer. I downloaded your ebook, and so guys, if you want to go get Cody's ebook. You'll go to VestRight.com VestRight.com/kingdom. That's for the Kingdom REI podcast, by the way. So VestRight.com/kingdom. And like me, you can download his ebook and become less of a skeptic. So I'm looking forward to being proven wrong, Cody, about this, man. Is there anything in order to follow you? I know I got that resource. Anything else, man, or any other place?
There's just one last thing I want to tell you. Okay. I don't think any of you can argue that knowledge is power, right? Here's the deal. Very few people know what I know. What that allows is I can go into a lot of rooms and have an advantage. Because even if you don't ever go do what I do, I have certain advantages how I might look at a storage deal or a multifamily deal or a retail deal. Or I have an advantage because I might come at that deal at a different angle than you could ever think of because you don't have my knowledge. So even if you don't want to do what I do, it's still worth the education as a real estate expert, as a real estate professional, because it makes you more powerful.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Amen.
Yeah. Man, who thought I could get so fired up on raw land? You know what I mean? Cody, I love having you, man. VestRight.com/kingdom. Guys, go check out Cody's ebook there and see what all this is about. See what all this is about. I think he's absolutely right. You know, other people are gonna take advantage of the opportunities that are coming. And I think regardless of what your focus is, you know, they say they're not making more land. That's what they say.
They sure aren't. Limited supply, my brother.
They say that. So, hey guys, listen, if you enjoyed this show, Cody, anything else before we get out of here today, man?
No, I just want to thank you guys for having me. It's been fun. My faith, the kingdom is the foundation of me and who I am and my family. And I fail daily, but it's a huge part of my life. And so it's just really cool to come onto a podcast where it's kingdom and real estate. Like that's a big part of those two together. Boom. So just thank you.
That's what that's what they say, man. Absolutely. We love doing it. So guys, listen, if you enjoyed this, you didn't hear any ads today. You didn't get hit with, some commercial. So go and help us share this message. Do us a favor by taking a screenshot, posting this online. And if you've already done that over and over, then go leave us a 5-star review. And let us know. Make sure you talk, you mentioned the Sage, Cameron Roy in your 5-star review today. And that will go a long way. So everybody, thank you again for being here. We'll see you next week. Cheers.
Cheers.